Good evening, everybody. Technically, it's good night, but well, I'm not going to bed yet. But anyways, wherever you guys are at, could be morning time, afternoon, nighttime. Well, whatever it is, you may be here. Actually, technically, I don't know if you guys are watching this or not, but let's just tune in. Okay, so I did 3 videos. The first one was the intro on humility. The second one was on going into like the detail of how this world operates around pride. And the third and the second one also introduces the fact of how you become humble like Jesus. And then the third video talks about humility on a more detailed level. So how Jesus even walked, how he humbled himself. In this video, we're going to get really into the deep details of how Jesus lived. Not only humbled himself, but how he lived. And we're going to read from a certain precept in Scripture. And I hope you guys really pay attention to this, because even though you may not be a believer, a Christian, it's not about basically religion. I'm not about religion. Jesus was against religion. If you guys didn't know that. So we're gonna read on how Jesus was actually talking to his disciples. This is going to floor you because when I read it at first, it floored me, realizing that a king does this and says this. So, oh yeah, and before I even move on with reading, I wanted to follow up with you guys on how these videos have helped you, or if they have helped you. Drop in the comments below what reached out to you, what stood out to you. If you don't feel comfortable with commenting on it, then I would suggest thinking about these videos that I'm doing. And if you're not a Christian, that's totally fine. These videos are actually for everyone in general to help you in life. If you are a Christian, good. If you're not, totally fine. It doesn't matter. The point is that you're watching these videos and they're informing you. And so if you guys if you guys find that these videos kind of point out to you and speak to your heart, then my first step would be to talk to somebody. Find somebody who's very humble. If you can't find somebody who's humble that you know, then I would suggest it's up to you to find a pastor, a very nice pastor, not a judgmental, hypocritical pastor, and tell him, say, I've been recently watching these videos about humility, and I just wanted to know greater detail on how Jesus lived and walked. If any of these things, ideas come to your head, either of those options work, and of course you can get a Bible. That'll really help you, to be honest. If your heart is open, you will get one. If it's not, you won't get one. If your heart's open to talk to a pastor, you'll do it. If it's not, you won't. So either way, it's a 50-50. So anyways, we're going to start from the book of Matthew, verse 24, and we're just going to read from there. It's 2 verses. So Jesus is talking to the disciples, the mission of the 12. This is where I think that they first all come together at once. And Jesus says this right here. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. Whoa, wait a minute. The disciple is not above his own master, and nor the servant above his Lord? Okay, so what this is saying is, Jesus is speaking right here. He's saying that we are not above our master, nor the servant above his Lord. So the servant is not above God, not above Jesus. We're below him. But then right here, it says something interesting. It kind of touches up on it. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master and the servant as his Lord. So, and then it goes on to talk about if they called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call him of his household? So basically, Jesus is saying, you know what? I kind of read from a wrong verse, actually. I was looking for the one about, I actually know the verse by heart. So Jesus, that was the wrong verse. I'm sorry. I kind of got tongue tied. So the verse that I wanted to touch up on was where Jesus was talking to his disciples at the Last Supper, and they were all lining up, getting ready to have their last meal before Jesus was betrayed and put to the death, be sentenced to death and crucified. So Jesus was talking to his disciples, and he says, "The master is no greater than his servant." Now, you may wonder, what? That's impossible. That's the opposite. What master would put himself in equality with his own servant? Let me guess. Well, did any of the religious leaders do it? Nope. They were actually unfavored poor people. Did other religions do it? Maybe, but they didn't completely humble themselves. They actually wanted to be better than a lot of people. There's one particular person that actually humbled himself to the point where he became as though nobody knew him, but yet they still did because people told. And his name is Jesus Christ. Jesus said to his disciples, "The master is not the master is not greater than his servant." Well, that's awesome, right? Jesus is literally now in reality, Jesus in his mind knows that he is greater than them, but he's humbling himself from a humble state, saying that me and you are equal. So, but the thing is that Jesus and humans aren't equal, but he's saying that to humble himself, right? So Jesus wants us. The greatest among these is the servant. So Jesus is the greatest and was the greatest and still is the greatest, but he was a servant. So what Jesus was telling his disciples is that the greatest among you is the servant. The master of the disciples is the servant. The leader of the crew is the servant. And so what we look at that and be like, wow, why would I be the servant if I'm the one leading? Because if you don't serve, they won't see the example of you serving. They'll see the example of you leading and being the dominant leader. You don't. They're in the Bible. Jesus never put anybody above anyone. Everyone was equally in line. Everyone is the same. That doesn't mean everyone's saved. It means everyone's the same in his eyes. Everyone can do what he can do. Everyone is loved the same. Everyone has the same citizenship in heaven if they believe in him. Everyone is equally been given gifts and spiritual talents to use to his glory. So what Jesus is saying is that the greatest among you is a servant. So let's say you have a pastor in the church. He's the servant. Well, that's crazy. He's the one leading the church. Yeah, the leader is the servant. But we look at this and we say, well, why would Jesus become a servant? Why would he? Because Jesus' goal was to do what he saw the Father doing. The Father saw a need in this world. The Father saw that the Father saw the wickedness covering this world, and he decided that he was going to send his son Jesus. And the task that he gave his son Jesus was to humble himself onto this earth as the Son of God with equal power as God himself. But he humbled himself, became a man in the flesh so people would recognize him as a man and not a ghost. But he was perfect without sin. But the only difference is he came to this world not to be served as a king, but to serve and give his life a ransom for the world, for many. And so Jesus is saying that Jesus was saying that because he didn't come to this earth to be proud and prideful, say, "Behold, I'm El Shaddai." No, he came and said, "I am the Son of Man." There's no pride in that. He rode on a donkey into the temple courts. Why would a king do that? He should be put on a horse with elders behind him, with roses on the horse and jewelry on him and a crown on his head. But he didn't come with any of that. He simply rode on a mule into the temple courts, and people were praising him because he is the Son of God. So what I'm trying to get here is, guys, is humility is such a big key. And if you want to learn how to become humble, the best one to go to is Jesus, because he has everything. He is humility. Everything that is of God is humility. Everything that is of God is love and perfect. Humility is the key thing in this world that we need. Humility and humility comes with forgiveness. Humility comes with self-control. Humility comes with love, patience, kindness. Humility is one of the greatest keys in the Bible, actually. But love is the greatest, of course. But humility is love. So if you think about it. So what I'm touching up on is how Jesus walked. When Jesus preached to people, he preached love. He preached signs. He preached in stories to help them. He never got angry. He never got mad at people. He was angry, but not in a sinful way. There's a verse in the Bible that says, "Be angry and sin not." He was humble, but he was angry at the same time with what people were doing against him and against his Father, and he was doing that to convict their hearts, because that's a loving Father. That's the Son of God. That was his job. And it still is his job. So this video is getting kind of long, guys. I just want to say a few more things before I end it. In the next video, I'll be more discussing about basically how we can become like Jesus. This is into greater detail, not like the third video in the seconds. But what I want to touch up on real quick, guys, is that if you find this video appeasing to you, that it helps you kind of, you may think that when you look at Jesus' life that you're probably thinking, well, I'm not Jesus. I can't do that. He was a man 2,000 years ago. He was perfect. It was like, but yeah, you may think that. I thought that at first. I thought that I could do anything that he could do. But the truth is, Jesus said in John 14:12, "He that believes on me, the works that I do, he shall do and even greater than these because he goes to the Father. So not only did Jesus say we will do what he can do, but greater. Jesus just said that we can do what he can do. In Philippians, it says to have the mindset of Christ. So yes, we can be like Christ. You don't have to discourage yourself. You want to look at it from a perspective that Jesus is willing to help you if you're willing to ask for help. If you're not willing to ask for help and this video is just here to watch it because you don't want to know, then God won't reach out to you. He's only going to reach out to you by your choice because he loves you. He'll never step in and force himself. You have free will, so he gives you a choice. All right, guys, lastly, one more thing. When you look at the life of Jesus and you see his humility and his love and his kindness, his plan and his goal in this life, you look at it from a perspective and a lens that there's no flaw in him. He was so kind and perfect and generous, and he still is because he's still alive. Of course, he lives forever. He's the King of all kings. And you see, and when you truly with your heart see him, you feel peace and joy and comfort like anything else. And that's the true Jesus that I serve and follow, and I know he's in my heart. And I'll be honest, guys, everything that I've been saying in this videos, I need to work on, okay? I am not perfect, nor will I ever be until I get to heaven, which is on earth soon. So I have mistakes, I make mistakes, I mess up. So don't get me wrong on this, guys. I am not perfect, I am not judgmental, I'm not hypocritical. I will speak the truth, and if I get hated for it, okay, God said you will be hated because they hated me first without a cause. So it's okay. I love you all very much, guys, and I hope these videos really start to help you because I will be continuing to doing more videos on these. Like I said, in the next video, I will be describing more in depth of how to walk like Jesus in more detailed manner. And that video may even convict me, but there's a reason why we need to be doing this. I need to be doing it. And so I hope I hope all of you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys live. And I will be back shortly. So grace and peace, guys.